Today's episode is sponsored by Mr.G's Workshop, and we have a new location in Bloomingdale, New Jersey. Hey, welcome back to the Mr.G's EV Hangout. This is where the rising tide lifts all boats. I'm so glad you're here. We're going to share some electric vehicle projects, but tonight we're going to do something different. We're going off-grid. This project actually is my project. It's kind of a show and tell show. And tonight I'm bringing in the off-grid trailer. And that trailer was built by students in a high school. My day job is I'm a high school auto and metal shop teacher. And it's been a year in the making, and so I want to share that with you. But also let me introduce who we got with us. So we got Kevin Lieberman in California. He is a Harley-Davidson software engineer, and he's got all kinds of cool stuff with EVs. How you doing, Kev?
Hey, doing good. Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
All right. And we got Talik, Charge Positive. He covers all things EV. He really does have his finger on the pulse. If you want to know what's going on, head over to Charge Positive. How you doing?
Hey, Mr. G. Yes, we got a lot going on. I mean, there's just so much happening. We're going to talk about your trailer. So we also got some stuff from Electrify Expo last week we're going to talk about. But also, what's bringing this whole episode to us tonight?
Oh, yeah. So this is brought to you by Mr. G's Workshop. That's where we are right now. And I'm here in New Jersey. We got intro to welding, intro to mechanics. We do a small engine. I'm going to have electric cars here, and we do all kinds of welding like stick, MIG, TIG, all the stuff you'd want to know. So come on down. And if you're in the East Coast and you're close to New York, we're only 45 minutes. So that's Mr. G's Workshop.
Also, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, so you don't miss a single episode of this podcast. So let's get into it, Mr. G.
All right, let's do it. We also got Richard Jones here from the EV Riders. He gave me my first ride in a Tesla Roadster. God, it must be over 10 years ago. How you doing, Richard?
Good, Mr. G. Yeah, I bet it was 2010.
Wow. I was convinced. You know what? After that, I had a good description. I felt like when you punch the pedal, it felt like I was in a human slingshot, and you just like go, you know, it just keeps on accelerating, and that's when I was like, oh, they're not messing around. This is a lot more powerful than I realized. Electric cars are not slow. It just depends on which company you are in, which car you're in. So anyway, yeah, so let's get to the slides. But I think tonight, since I'm the one showing the show and tell, we got some questions coming in from all the people in the show right now. So you guys hit me with questions, and I'll just start going. So I think probably I'll start it off. You know, the premise. The premise was that we wanted to. I wanted to do something that involves electric vehicles, but also involves the community. When you build a car in a high school, the problem is you can't really share it that much. So all the kids want to drive the car. They can't drive the car for insurance reasons or whatever. They're young and stuff like that. So you can't really drive the car. You could take it to like one show, two shows. But if you build an off-grid trailer, and it's a food trailer, now everybody gets to use this indefinitely. Like we could just use this to sell concession stand stuff, hot dogs, burgers, whatever. And then it always keeps on working. We can always revise it or refresh it. So that was the premise behind the whole thing. And this here is an AI generated image. We didn't know what the thing was going to look like. So we just sort of like played around with Leonardo, which I don't even know if they're still around, but we just typed in solar off-grid trailer and it came up with this. Very good for if you're going to just come up with a concept and you don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but you need other people to see it. So, you know, you need like administrators, funders, people that are sponsoring it. You need people to see your project, but you don't have anything yet. You could just use AI, you know, or draw it yourself. So that was the premise. And here we are. This is some of our students unpacking some of the materials. And we chose battery choice was I wanted lithium iron phosphate because it is less likely to go on fire. And also these are rack mount. So we didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to do BMS. It's inside of it. It's got its own DC breaker. I don't have to worry about a thing. You can shut them off. So these are really friendly. Have you guys ever used any batteries like this, rack mount? What do you guys think of this?
I've seen a lot of off-gridders are using this style of battery. They put little racks in. Like there's a channel I follow. It's called Ambition Strikes. They're up in northern Idaho, and they got a similar system. I think they're using Victron inverters, but they have a different type of battery. But it's the same rack mount style where you can just load them up and get like a 48 or 60 kilowatt hour pack, all paralleled together or series together. And it's really efficient with space. They're pretty easy to hook up. You just see them, like they put the connections right there on the front. So I think this is pretty popular for a very stationary storage.
Yeah, and I know Jehu's done a bunch of videos on whether it's worth it to build your own. I think obviously if you build your own, you probably get more bang for your buck. But this was $1,000, and it was delivered, and it was all done through with the BMS, and so you don't really have to worry about a thing.
Well, let's step back though to the design of the system. What you intended to use it for, we get as a food trailer, but like,
Oh, good
why
question.
would you choose 48 volts? How many solar panels? How much capacity did you want? Like, what were the design parameters of the overall system?
Okay, so as you can see here, well, I'll save that part for the end, but let's do this. Basically, the concept was that we would have not so much the food department involved. So it's not like a place where we're cooking food. Nothing's like raw. But we wanted to have, we spoke with the cafeteria chef or director. He said, all I need is a food warmer and a refrigerator and some extra plugs in case we plug in a generator. And so I said, okay. So we looked at the demands. We actually did the calculations. We looked at the demands. That's a good question, Kevin. Like, what do you do about how much demand are you going to have? And we figured out that with everything running, we actually had a mini split going, which is kind of like air conditioning or heating. And it was overkill for the space that we have. We have a mini split. We have a refrigerator. We have a warmer, and then we have outlets all over. We also have 240 in case you want to charge a car or use a welder. And so we figured out that if you're maxed out and you have no solar that day, you're pulling 3,000 watts. So we sized it based on that, and we were hoping that we would last about 2 to 3 hours like a football game. And so we sized it for about 10,000 kilowatts, but this ended up being 4,800 each, so it's 9.6 kilowatts.
Kilowatt hours of storage, right?
Yeah, kilowatt hours. Sorry, yeah.
Oh, and the load rating you're talking is like the peak rating. That's not your continuous rating.
Yeah, exactly. And it
so,
turned out we overestimated,
which is good.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, because there'll be degradation of the batteries, and somebody forgot to plug it in. It's only 75%.
And also, if the game goes into overtime, you can keep serving people.
Can't run out of hot dogs. Yeah, will this thing run a kegerator? I guess it will. So.
Oh yeah, it probably would. I came up with a way to do this. I have this thing called time to empty, and basically, without going too deep into this because it's kind of a podcast, you basically put in what your watt hours is, and then you put in your consumption and how many batteries you have, and it'll just tell you how much time you got or what C rating you're pulling or stuff like that. So it just made it like super simple. I call it a time to empty. And it's just basically a consumption chart.
So like totally empty, if the batteries were totally empty and you left this thing out in the sun only to charge, how long would it take to charge the batteries completely?
Okay, that's a good question. So our solar is 800 watts max. So if you have, I'll pull up the calculator real quick. If you have 9,600 watt hours divided by 800, you got 12 hours to charge it if you're dead.
Okay.
Yeah. So there you go.
So yeah, that's pretty good. So, well, you figure, I mean, it could be 2 days of, your sun's not full bright the whole time. You're not getting full peak.
Yeah,
But,
let's say 400, because let's say there's a shadow or a tree blocking. So it's 24 hours. So, but you got to divide that by how many hours of sunlight you're really going to get. Let's just say you got 6. You're in 4 days, you're back up. So yeah, that is a while actually, now that you think about it.
I'd say 2 days. I mean, because 6 hours a day, maybe you're getting 800.
But for the use case, it's going to be pretty good, because if this is used like once or twice a week, and then if it's sitting out wherever you're going to store it throughout the week, it'll charge up for the next event. So it's pretty good.
Also, keep in mind, we ran an event and I was so nervous about it. So I manually charged the batteries up to make sure. We did not pull nearly as much power as I thought we would, because I assumed 1,000 watts for the mini split, 1,000 watts for the fridge, and 1,000 watts for the food warmer. And we weren't even near that. We were, I think, total about 1,800. So like under 2,000. So it just shave off an extra 1,000. The mini split is very efficient. And then also, believe it or not, it's a commercial fridge and it's a commercial food warmer. I think the food warmer took about 1,000, but then it would stop. It wasn't always on. So that's kind of a thing. And then the fridge only pulled, I think, about 400 or 500 watts. So it really wasn't pulling that much.
Yeah, once it's already cool, in the beginning it's going to have more draw, but once it's already cool, it's going to, its continuous usage isn't going to be the full peak of what it could draw, right?
Right, exactly. And in here you can actually see, I zoom in on this because I want to see what they're doing. This is at our presentation night, and I'll hit pause once we get closer. That's the fridge, that's the food warmer, and then you click on this and Victron gives you like a display, and there they are pulling about 1,500, which is about 31 amps out of the battery, and it really didn't pull the battery down. And by the way, it's still getting 54 watts in from solar, and that's basically, that was at 6 p.m. in New Jersey behind a building. So it's just bouncing light off of the buildings and taking in solar. It was crazy.
Trickle charge.
Yeah. So since you showed them, how excited were your students about this? Because, as you say, you were a coach and you were kind of empowering them to build this and do everything. But now that it's done, like this one right here with the glasses, he seems to be like, is there a sense of pride amongst them about this project? Like, this is amazing work.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, they 100% own this project. These are kids that they were so excited to serve the food and to serve all the, to talk to all the patrons that were walking up. They own this project. I would say excitement would not be the description. I would say ownership, pride and ownership. Totally different experience than, the traditional way of telling a kid, here's what you need to do. You need to do it in a certain amount of time. You're telling them what to do. You're being a teacher. This is an obsolete technique. But I have a lot of flexibility because I'm a shop teacher. That's not necessarily the case if you are an English teacher or math teacher following a curriculum that the state has set out for you. So yeah, good question. Yeah, they own it. I would say the short answer is they own it, and they're prideful. Excitement. So there are days where I'm like, guys, we're gonna present this again. They're like, oh, They're like, oh my God, they know how much effort is to present. So they're realistic. It's kind of like they're like young adults. It's great, working with them. So cool.
Well, here's the thing. Like, yeah, tell them you can charge your cell phone 7,206 times, and then they'll be excited. Make it,
Oh, yeah.
make it a portable iPhone, Android charging station. Maybe you just have racks of like inductive chargers on the back, and then the kids will get excited. Oh man, my phone was dead, but the Mr. G's trailer got me going again. Because that's
Well,
something they can relate to.
I'll tell you what, the common denominator is food. And so when I was thinking about this project, I was like, what are people getting excited about? I was like, wait a minute, we have a cafeteria. And I talked to the guy's name is Sal, who runs the, director of the New Way is the company. And I said, hey, you want to do something? He's like, I've been waiting 10 years to do something. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. And I was like, all right, we're going to need a fridge. We're not buying the fridge. You're buying the fridge. So they bought the fridge, they bought the warmer. And then the kids, they were like, yeah, burritos. We can't serve sodas because everything's gone, no sugar. Like, give me a break, like, come on.
Yeah.
So we couldn't serve any sodas. Yeah, just water and hot burritos. It was crazy. I don't know what.
I mean, I
love charge their phones. I'm telling you, they're going to be excited about that.
Charge the phone. All right, we should put inductive chargers on the outs. That was part of the plan.
Just put your phone in. You just lay them there, and then you don't have the wearing out of cables. And somebody stole my cable. You just have a bunch of but ones that have like a rack, a stand for them.
You know what? I think we're going to make improvements.
Stands.
Yeah. We should 3D print a bunch of stuff. Oh, by the way, we've 3D printed a ton of solutions during this process. I'm jumping around, but anyway, we'll get to that. But yes, motivation for students, they got to own it, and it's got to be something they care about. You can't be like, well, actually, it's the waves of the sunlight. They don't care. They just want to eat food and make it hot.
So this was a semester-long project, right, Mr. G?
1 year. We started in September.
Okay, so what do you think the total build time? Like, if you were to be like, if you didn't have to go to other classes and you were to just build this with the same size team, how many total hours do you think would it take to build this? Like, once you finished your design part of it, now that, like, let's say you wanted to make one of these, a copy cut one of these again, how long do you think it would take to make one?
Okay. We actually tried to calculate this, but we you start out with a plan and then you ditch it because you're just so busy. It's kind of like a time to empty plan, but there's 180 days in a school year. We worked on this thing, well, 182, but whatever. We worked on this thing during advanced class, which is an hour and a half, plus 2 hours in the afternoon, 3 days a week, maybe. Realistically, with a lot of vacations and interruptions, I would say 2 days a week times 2 hours at night times the 150, the hour and a half a day. So that was so let's see, 1.5 a day times 5 plus the 2 hours plus the 2 hours. So it's like 11 or 12 hours a week. So let's say 12 hours a week. Yeah. Times knock off the first month and the last month. So you got, I don't know, minus 20, 40 days. So it's like 140 days. And then minus, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So times 140. Yeah. It's like 1,500 hours or so. It's a lot.
Well, so
put into that, wood shop teacher was involved as well.
Put into that, it's not about building front to back because you're also educating in the meantime. So you're purposely going slow so that people got it. And you're purposely not putting your best guy on everything, I'm guessing, because you want them to learn. So it's hard to like tell somebody who's a do-it-yourselfer that it would take that long. It's really, the idea was different.
Yeah, well, I was also thinking like potentially if we wanted to kind of do something very similar with the EVLC, could this fit into a summer project or something like that? So I was just trying to grasp the total time in. on
Yeah.
this.
There's a lot of ways to change it. So we bought the trailer, but we still had to assemble it. We did not buy the box or the house, the tiny home kind of above it. That you could just buy a trailer, but then you'd have to modify it.
So this was a Harbor Freight trailer in the box you bought
Yes.
unassembled.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yep. Harbor Freight trailer. Yep.
And you said the wood shop teacher built the structure on top of this. With
Yeah.
the wood
This is
shop
Mr.
class.
Herr,
Yeah.
and he's a 30-year house builder that retired from his own business, and his wife was a teacher, so he thought he would decide to be a teacher. He's a natural. He's so calm with the kids. He's awesome, and he really knows what he's doing. He involves them, but also his skill of running like unskilled crews that are learning. I mean, that's basically what when you own a contract, when you're a contractor, you're basically a teacher because you're teaching your new staff, and there's turnover every couple of years anyway. So we got lucky with him. But I will say there's one other secret sauce to this whole thing, and that is that we did it modular. So we built everything on a table first. You see, these walls were all insulated, covered, assembled, cut, and shored up, and everything just by putting on a table. And this is what they call modular construction. It's all pre-assembled. And then we brought it over to the auto shop, and this was the first day that it saw the light of day. But it's basically a box that was then assembled. Yeah, I would recommend building everything on a bench and then just putting it together.
Yeah, and then your crews don't get in each other's way. So
exactly. And while that was happening, at the exact same time, here is the battery on a bench, on a rolly bench, another piece of plywood that we painted black that has all the what we called the DC board. And then we had the AC board was then constructed on another piece of plywood, which you don't see here. But as you can see, they had their plan was all drawn out just like we did at the EVLC. And then it was then implemented by just pin the tail on the donkey, just put it down. And so that's all happening while in the background, they're building the entire structure.
So I think that's a good point to jump into with what made you go with Victron? You said you did modular, so was that kind of the brand to go with that?
Well, I don't have enough experience to comment on other brands, but we used Victron out in Illinois when I did the Taylorville, Illinois project last summer. And it's known as a robust system. I've seen it on boats. I've seen it on off-grid, the RV life and stuff like that, van life. It seems to be pretty bulletproof. They say it's more expensive. I don't know. Each inverter was only maybe $1,200. Is that a lot for a 3,000 VA inverter? I'm not sure. Seems like that's kind of in the ballpark. And it's got all kinds of software that you can look at the dial of like where all the flow of energy is going. So the choice of the Victron was familiarity and recommendation. So yeah, I don't actually know whether there was a better inverter out there.
Yeah, but from what I've seen, it does seem like they have a wide range of options and form factors to be able to fit, as you said, boats and cabins and van lifers and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they have a lot of support. They were great. The customer service was good.
Yeah, there's a lot of support. There's a ton of videos. You really they got it covered. If you need a wiring diagram, they have it. Actually, we did have an issue. And they solved it ASAP. There's this little device that does communication, the communication is so the inverter doesn't talk. The inverter doesn't talk to the internet. Doesn't have Bluetooth and stuff like that. But this little box does, and so you hook up to that. And long story short, that box failed based on a power supply inside. And I looked it up. They said this is a known issue. I emailed Victron. Victron said, here's your distributor. They sent us a new one like that. Like, no questions asked. Don't send us the old one. We don't care. Here's the new one. We know about this problem. Done. I was like, wow, that was cool. That was cool. Because it's that little communication box is how you talk to it. And it was like $300 item. And so I'm like, wow, I don't have to, no headache, especially as a teacher. There's no such thing as a return. When supplies come in, that's it. It's a headache to get a person on the phone and then deal with the Board of Ed. It's like, oh my God, don't even bother.
Yeah, you got to deal with purchase orders and purchasing department. Oh God, yeah.
This is not an option. It's not, you can't, this is not like Costco. You're like, oh, I'm going to return something, or Amazon. It's not, no, you can't return anything.
Well, speaking of districts, so you have a big thing happening tomorrow night, right?
Oh yeah. So tomorrow night we're presenting to the Board of Ed. We're doing smoothies, and I mean, these are the people that greenlit the money to do this. They are excited, but they've never actually seen it in person. The Board of Ed in the town of West New York, New Jersey, very supportive of sustainable engineering programs. They funded my first electric car back in 2008. Which is surprising. And they had a grant from, I think, Senator Lautenberg, maybe, who I think has passed on. Pretty amazing that they focused the money on this. And also, so that's basically it. And the kids are presenting it. So the wild thing is that when I present this stuff, it's not me standing there going, like, this is the most I've presented this project total. It's the kids that do it. I'm on year 19. I can't be that teacher that's always trying to impress or trying to. I just let the students do it, and it works out really well because they're empowered. They own the project. Are
you going to be presenting outside, or are you wheeling it into the boardroom, or what? How is it going to happen?
So we're going to be outside. So I think what they're going to do is they get the smoothie on the way in to the meeting, I think. Or they're going to stop the meeting and everybody's going to walk outside. I don't know how they're going to handle this. I'm not sure what they're going to do.
I think the second way is better.
Yeah. What'd you say?
You're going to have blenders there. You're going to be making.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the second way is good because then you bring them out. Because on the way in they're like, oh, that was cute, and then but if you start the meeting and it's like, okay, come on, come check this out, and then you see the kids excited and they tour it around and they're like, oh wow, then it's in the heart of the meeting.
Yeah. Now I also want to mention this slide right here. We relied on CAD heavily to visualize. I mean, we took our final measurements in real life, but if you could see here, our solar array, it doesn't have this mount. We were trying to do this mount, but we didn't have enough time. But we still used CAD heavily, and the program we used is called Onshape. If you're a teacher, Onshape is absolutely the advantage because it's basically SolidWorks or Fusion 360, but it's web-based and it works in real time. So you could have a kid on a crappy Chromebook and you could be on your computer with the bigger TV or whatever, and you can see what they're doing and help them. So this was a huge advantage. Anytime we made a change, I made the changes with the students here in the CAD first. And I was like, okay, it's going to look like this. Let's go. And then another kid would be like, oh, what if it's like this? And I'm like, perfect.
Yeah, we also so if you've been following us, or if you're watching this episode for the first time, if you go back in the playlist on the podcast here, we have an episode where we talked about how CAD, both computer aided drawing as well as cardboard aiding drawing, really helps out with getting your project figured out.
100%. Oh, we got Roy as a teacher in California. He's a wood shop teacher. He just joined, so that's cool. So the other thing that we use the CAD for, believe it or not, is the conduit. Now, this is what they call wire mold. It is not the circular tube. It is different. It's kind of like a square. They call it a raceway. It's basically surface mount, but just a little nicer. It's like a little bit nicer surface mount. Why would you want this? Well, let's say you're not going to put the wire inside inside the wall, but you don't want it to look industrial. Then what you're going to do is you're going to do this raceway kind of thing like this. And these right here, they kind of look like that. But the issue is, and you can buy them from Amazon and all kinds of stuff, right? The issue becomes that when you go to bend them, here they are. Here's all kinds of different attachments that they have.
And I guess they kink a bit.
They do. They kink. Okay. Now here's the thing. Of course, you're going to go grab the tube bender, right? Like, why wouldn't you just get, like an EMT, conduit bender, right? Okay. Just go get the bender, right? This thing, you see this everywhere. It's on the back of everybody's truck, right? Sure, go ahead. That's not going to fit the square. Okay. So it's the wrong one. So what do? You have to buy the correct one, and it's $200. It's not $30 or $40. So you're like, oh man, we're not, I spent my own money on this project too. So I was like, okay, we're not doing that. So what I did was I asked the kid, I said, can you just copy the design of the wire mold bender? We found it online, and let's try it out. Let's 3D print it. So we 3D printed it, and we came up with this design. Now I added the steel because we need like a little reinforcement because it kind of cracked, but it works. And you can see here, all we needed was this. We need an offset. So we had to make it, you got to bend it one way, like 15 degrees, turn it around, slip it a little, and then bend it the other way. And then boom, you got your offset. And I'll show you a photo of the result. Let's see. Try and get that going. Yeah, I'll have to look that up. But basically, yeah, it's on this platform right here. As you can see right there. Those are all the outlets on the flat. And they have all these raceways. And there's some of the bends in the back. That way yeah.
While you're here, show us that walkthrough video. You have that. I think you have a video here where you just walk right through.
Oh yeah. So this is before we put the AC breaker in. That's your DC board with your batteries, and then that's where the AC box goes. Oh, here we go. Here, this is the wire mold. This is it. This is everything you want. I wanted to show. 100%. Oh, it's fast. I'll stop it at the next point there. So we had to plan everything out, and then you come over here. There's the bender, and then there you go. You could see all the wire mold is made by one company. It's basically like a proprietary thing. But if you don't have that bender, you're not going to be able to bend this stuff nicely. It'll kink for sure. Yeah. So 3D printing, that is your friend.
You made your own tools, and you taught the kids how to make their own tools. Yeah, you can't just go to 7-Eleven and get another one.
So after you present this tomorrow night, what's going to be the next time it's used? Is it just going to sit in the yard all summer long, or are you going to, what's?
Okay. So my hope is that in the summer, they put this at the football field, and once it's at the football field, then they can use it as a concession stand. I'm actually around in the first part of the summer, so I'll check on it. But after that, it's going to be part of the cafeteria. So believe it or not, the cafeteria is actually in this building on the right. You can see it's actually in there. And then this box, the off-grid trailer, it could be on this block or the other block, and that would be like an extension of the cafeteria. They would have to run food out to it though. But the thing is that would be pretty good because it's kind of, I teach in an urban neighborhood, and the problem is we have a campus, but it's not closed. So the cars run through it, and then it's hard to get to the other kids in the other buildings. They have to come all the way across to the cafeteria, and then that means they have to go outside and go back inside, and so it's kind of a security problem.
So it can be a satellite cafeteria.
Exactly. It's a satellite cafeteria. We can reach to the other kids, the other side of the campus. They really should close all the streets and just, that's it. This is a school campus, I think. And then that's what my opinion, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, so it's supposed to live on. And we want it to be, to serve the community and to collect data. I want to know what's going to happen. Yeah, it'll be cool.
You said that the Victron system now does communicate with the internet. Is it communicate with the cloud, or is it just the local?
So it will communicate with your phone. It will communicate if you have it, if you have a Wi-Fi connection. Other than that, it will not. So I want to solve that. So I was actually going to ask you guys, is there a cheap network connection? Like, for instance, like the Tesla, that thing's connected. So how do I connect?
Oh, you need a hotspot.
A hotspot? Okay.
Yeah, well, because it's probably gonna be far from Wi-Fi from the school. Like, and also sometimes school networks don't let certain routers. You have to get it like approved by the tech board and all that sort. So yeah, you probably would need a hotspot built like inside that thing for you to be able to have remote access on it, unless it can reach unless it can sign into the school Wi-Fi of whatever building it's near. But that might be a trickier process just because of, the way some school districts work with, data.
Yeah, the issue is that you'd have to sign in every single day.
Oh, really? You get to sign. It doesn't keep your
every
connection.
single day.
Yeah, so you want something.
You don't just connect.
They make cheaper sort of IoT hotspots. When you don't need full internet, you need a very simple set of solutions. And probably ask Victron about that, who they suggest, because there could be a $10 a month device as opposed to a full hotspot, which could be $60 a month on a.
Oh yeah, that would be really cool.
But I would check with Victron first. But it's more of an IoT, low bandwidth. Because then you'd be able to see what's going on. I can see the batteries. You'll be able to see from home, like, oh, the batteries are low. Nobody charges.
That's what I want to do. Yeah, I want to be able to see what's going on. I should get an alert on my phone or something. There is a Victron app.
Richard's got a question here.
Go for it.
Yeah, just a suggestion. Rather than being vendor specific with Victron, a hotspot is all your internet, and it may not be $60 a month. You may be able to purchase a low data rate iSIM for a hotspot and get the donors to basically prepay for 5 years of data or something at a low data rate.
Yeah.
So it may not be that expensive, and especially if you get the donors to prepay, it's not something you have to worry about for 5 years or a year or whatever. Yeah, something like that. And if you keep the SSID invisible, or or lock it down so that every kid that walks up to this thing isn't trying to connect to it.
Yeah.
You can keep it private to the devices that are inside this thing. That may be just hearing what you were saying about teacher woes with buying and returning things and getting them paid for again. Something like Kevin was showing with a prepaid, either some large amount of data or just for a period of time might be a good way to go. And that would work.
I like that idea. That's
you wouldn't have
awesome.
to just.
It would. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that would work for everything internet, not just figuring out what data on what ports were needed.
That would be awesome. The other thing is they have this thing called the Servo G. Well, I was going to say is that if they could pay once, they would be happy. Subscription services, is not great for a school. But we also have this thing called the Servo GX That's this thing I'm showing right now. That is the communication, but it doesn't. It's Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. It doesn't have. But maybe I'm not seeing something.
Well, that would
We
you
would
would
talk Wi-Fi to this, and then this thing talks to the network. So
yeah.
Oh, I see.
Well,
Okay.
I will donate this to your cause if you get a Verizon SIM that would work on this. You can have my
Right.
hotspot.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Connect-
So I also hope you have some pretty good locks on that thing, because if you know, if that's
yeah, it locks up. Yeah,
That could be
that's
another
cool.
part of what you do with the security too. You have cameras in there.
Oh, that would be pretty cool.
I mean, it sounds like you're gonna have enough power to run, the Wi-Fi and a couple of cameras. That'd be pretty good.
That would be
But that
awesome.
also cameras get into how each district handles students, just video surveillance differently. So
Mhm. But
awesome.
Yeah, but I would like to know what's going on. I think that it would be fair to know. Like, I should know where the batteries are at. Not just me. That should be displayed in our room. And then when I come in, let's say in the morning, and it says, "Oh, battery's low," and I calculate that we don't have enough time with one day to handle the upcoming football game. Okay, then we switch to shore power. So we actually have shore power, but we did not get it to work yet. It is connecting. We see the 120 going in, but the charger doesn't kick on. So I think it has to do with our state of charge settings or voltage settings, but we're going to mess around with that in the coming weeks. Well, there's only like 2 weeks left of school, but we're going to try and fix that.
You guys go late. We're all pretty much done out here.
Yeah. Well, the thing about this is that we start pretty late. We start after Labor Day. So,
And then they got snow days, something we don't have here.
yeah, we got a ton of snow days. Yeah. Roy's on the call. How you doing, Roy?
Hey guys, I just found out my school district blocked your link, so I had to sign into my personal. I'll have to follow up. It must be like just a decision that's a broad stroke of an even wider brush. I'm doing good.
Yeah. Cool, man. Yeah. Let me know if you got any questions. We're going to probably wrap this up soon. I did want to tell you. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, how much more did you have about the trailer? Because then I can bring up the.
Oh, just this one thing that we had to make some improvements to the stability and strength of the trailer. I think we undersized the trailer for what we needed. But believe it or not, even though it was in a remote location, we were storing it in an alley behind the cafeteria. Believe it or not, it can support a welder. And we were able to weld what we needed to the trailer from those batteries and inverters. In fact, it was only going on one inverter, just 120 volts, max out on maybe 20 amps. It's just a back alley, and this is where they put the garbage. And I guess they have I don't know why they have a porta potty there, but there's no outlets out there, and so you can support a welder, which is pretty wild. And the kids were stoked on that. We just tacked it in place. And that gave us our measurements. So I like to do that so you don't have to worry about measurements. And then we brought it back in the shop, and then we finished it. So pretty cool. And the kid was in there welding.
That is
So
it looks like there, just to stop some of the flexing.
What's that? Yeah, as a backbone. Exactly. That's 100% it. This trailer's rated at 1,700 pounds. I don't know. When it was driving, the tongue area was moving. So. Anyway, that's it about the trailer.
Well, you got to keep it the weight in the middle, like
Yeah. Well, I feel like it was distributed, but the batteries were up front, so maybe that's what did it.
Oh yeah, you may need one battery in the front and one in the back. So
that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Anyway, yeah. So that's it for the trailer project, and thanks for letting me show that. That was a whole year of work, and it was pretty wild. So I'm glad. But I would like to do that with the EV podcast or EVLC, EV riders, anything EV. Let's do it. Let's go off the grid.
We got piles and piles of solar panels. I'll take a picture and send them to you.
Yeah.
Well, also just having mobile power station is super awesome. Whatever you're using the power for, if it's for making food or charging cars or whatever, being able to have mobile power is really empowering, you know. So
Yeah, like it's right here in Jersey, believe it or not, this town I'm in is 6 cents a kilowatt. It's insanely cheap, but it is not the case in California. It is, I heard, up to 70 cents a kilowatt at sometimes, right?
yeah. I mean, I think this summer they backed off a bit. Last summer our peak was 81 cents, but now it's like 69, 70, something like that.
Wow.
But yeah, so I got to see Victron in person here at this convention in San Diego. It was called Intersolar, and they had pretty much almost every variety of inverter and on display here in solution. They had marine solutions. They had off-grid, like everything we said before. You can see that the different, you know, you basically modularly size up your systems for what you need. Also, that right there, I believe, is where you can. It's like the combiner, that piece right there that at the end here. This has like all of this. You bring all the modules.
Those click together. It's a very cool design. Like it's like you could see that someone thought about it. You know,
it's definitely a whole ecosystem, and that's the other thing is it still works with other brand stuff. Like you can buy your Wise batteries, which I don't think we got to talk about your batteries that much. But here's a marine example. You know, if Tom Summers was on the call tonight, he'd probably be talking about his marine setup that he's got. And there's all these sorts of cool things. But then also at Electrify Expo, you know, this is a pretty common theme. So a brand I've been following a few years now, I first saw them at Tesla Takeover. They made a little teardrop trailer, but they called it Polydrop because it's made out of polygons. But they're really chasing this aero profile, and now they're making a stand-up. It's got 6 feet on the inside trailer, but the kicker is they're now using Aptera solar. Look at that right there.
That's so cool.
Yeah, Aptera is now beginning to essentially export. I don't know how many brands they're going to work with, but this is the first solar that is not being used by the car, but it's being used by a third-party system. So they got this solar on there basically 2 days before Electrify Expo in Long Beach. Now you might see the waves in there on the panels there. That's because it's the older technology laminate that they were doing. When this goes to market, it will have the glass, just like the car is going to have glass now too. But this is really exciting because this trailer, I'll let it play and it'll zoom out. It's going to have 1.3 kilowatts of solar on the roof. And this thing has a 5 kilowatt hour battery. And just like your trailer, they were running an air conditioner and a Dometic fridge all day long, and they still had full battery. And they had the windows open. And so it wasn't the most efficient use of electricity either. But yeah, Polydrops, check them out. This is coming. They're going to start deliveries of this at the end of the year, I believe. In fact, I got a whole interview with the founder and designer. In fact, it can be towed by Model Y right there. The base model is 1,500 pounds, and the fully loaded is 2,000 pounds. So it's lightweight and aerodynamic, and you can tow it with a Model Y, which has a 3,000 pound towing rating. Here they have it using Starlink. But yeah, it's all about aero. So as opposed to the other trailers like Lightship and Pebble, which are including a motor and a battery to help push the load, which are becoming these gigantic RV trailers, and they're very awesome, but they're also above $100,000. This thing is going to be about, I think, $38,000 to $44,000, which puts it in the market range of other, like, if you see like the Airstream, the smaller version of the Airstream, I think it's actually cheaper than a brand new Airstream Mini or whatever those are called. But this is super exciting. They still have their teardrop trailers for sale as well, but this one is super awesome. It's kind of like being on a boat. Inside it's also modular. So cool. It's also modular. In fact, that countertop right there folds up and it becomes the bathroom, and so it has like this this sheet that can be suspended and it becomes the whole bathroom. And then behind the kid right there is the stove top. So yeah, it depends on if you want to go base model or go all the way up to fully full top of the line model here. But yeah, it's super cool. It's got aero wheels. Yeah, so it's pretty exciting. The interview, hopefully I got to edit it, but we'll have about a 20-minute interview with the designer, and it's a pretty awesome company. So yeah, check out Polydrops.
Where do they find this video? Where's it going to be? What channel?
It'll be on my channel called Charge Positive, POZ, Charge Positive. But yeah, here's more that it's really cool to see Aptera solar in use, and it's not that wide a trailer, so getting 1.3 kilowatts on that form factor is actually quite impressive.
This is so exciting. I love hearing, because if this is a good episode, because it's combining education from scratch, and then also new prototypes from scratch, and collaboration of different companies. Really exciting stuff that you covered this. It's great that you're out there. You really got your finger on the pulse. People got to check out Charge Positive. Talik, he's awesome, man. That's good.
All right, thanks for that, Ron.
Yeah, no problem. Cool. All right, so we should wrap it up. Anybody add anything else before we go?
Well, Kevin, did you have any thoughts about what you saw at Expo?
It was overwhelming. It was really a lot there. I'm glad I went. I need to get there earlier next time.
I mean, I was there for 3 days and I didn't see everything.
Oh boy, yeah, we were there for maybe 4 hours. Yeah, my kid got to ride an electric motorcycle there. That was his size. We got to see a lot of cool stuff. There's just all kinds of innovative companies. Like, people are taking electric cars very seriously now. With Hankook and Yokohama, two mainstream tire makers are now like, here's our line of electric vehicle tires. Things like that are just saying to me, like, okay, this is really totally arrived.
Oh yeah. That's
yeah, and
funny.
there's tons of conversions there. I mean, Legacy did have a tent there. Legacy at the Phoenix one, their hometown, they had a whole span, and that's in my Phoenix video. But yeah, there were a bunch of conversions there. In fact, if you go check out Gas and Go with Snow, he's got an episode with the Nissan Skyline GTR electric conversion, dual motor, all-wheel drive electric GTR.
Does it still drift?
Yeah, because he can control how much power gets. So you can burn it out, or you can get the grip or what you want. So.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Oh, I think I've got it. I think I got it pulled up here. We'll give a brief snippet, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, at the very end of the episode.
My good friend Eric here. All right, Eric. We have spent the last few days at.
That's cool. There you go.
Yeah, so he's got 6 modules up in the front, and the other 10. So there's 2 where the gas tank was, and the other 8 in the trunk. So he was able to fit a full P90D. You watched the episode, but he's got a full P90D pack in there, and it's he did not have to. You can still fit 2 people in there. So you don't have a trunk anymore, but it's a performance car. It's not meant to be a weekend thing. But if you go to the very end of the episode, right before the credits, no, not a little bit earlier, right there, you see the burnout. It's about halfway through that chunk right there. You see, he's like,
okay, it's coming.
Thanks for watching Gas and Go, and then we cut to the smoke.
Nice. We'll wait for the smoke, and then we'll hit it. Here we go. Oh, nice. Yeah.
You know what they use for ECU?
What's that?
What was that ECU?
They use EV controls, or they do something different?
They have AEM stuff, and he's got a T2C in there. But again, watch the episode. He has more of info on, because that's the builder in the shot there. Evolved Imports is who did it.
Nice. All right, let's wrap up the recording there. Thanks for everybody being here. I'll hang out for a couple of minutes after recording. And
real quick, don't forget, if you want an EV Ject, we had them on last week. If you want to order your the way to safely charge, if you got a skedaddle, like someone's harassing you at a charging station, plug in your EV Ject. And you can order with our code EV Hangout 10 and save 30% on an EV Jack. So check them out. Link in description.
That's a lot. I got to tell you, things happen. I went across the country. You're charging in the middle of the night. You might want to get out of there in a hurry. And you got to get out of the car to unplug it. This thing lets you break away. All right. All right. See you later. Thanks for coming in. Mr. G's EV Hangout. Everybody was a great contribution to this. And we'll see you guys later.
Thank you.